Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Hope everyone's having a great Thursday. I have the legend himself, Big Beat, here with us today. Steve, how you doing this morning?
Good, man. Look, I think you saw the jobless claims numbers coming out, 2,000 better than expected. Look, that's not a reason to jump for joy, but you can see it going the right direction. I am still calling for cuts. I know that that's probably not the popular opinion right now. People want cuts. They want to lower the rates, but not seeing that just yet. But I do expect that I do want to see that for sure. I will say this much: housing numbers are getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
Then that's a big problem right now.
Yeah, housing problems definitely, exasperated by these rates. I even heard some talking heads here, or actually with analysts, economic analysts, that were calling for rate hikes. I almost spit up my coffee this morning. I think you and I talked about it earlier this morning. People are hurting right now, it seems like. And I think it shows by some of the earnings of the fast food restaurants. We've
Yeah,
seen McDonald's come out strong. We've seen that Dutch Brothers come out strong. Now Wendy's. I think people unfortunately are having to step down and they're buying those value meals because they're $5.
I don't like it when I see these kind of numbers starting to come out. When I see PPI exploding, when I see the price of eggs astronomical. Yes, I know that there's some outside influences of bird flu. But inflation has really, really been nasty. And when I hear the government say, "Oh, it's this reason and that reason," and they come to find out they're a little bit behind, right? They're always behind the curve. And what I'm saying to them is, look, you want to do that? People need homes. People need the very basics in order to live, and we're not seeing that right now. I did see, thankfully, the 10-year coming down to 4.57 a little bit, giving a little bit of relief because people need to buy cars. I mean, you're seeing that as a problem now that those numbers are just getting out of control at this point. And so for me, I want to see the next level of this. I want to see people. I want to see the markets moving. And when you see the dollar, the Dixie, as high as it has been, it's tough because international is not buying our products, and if they don't buy our products, then we have a problem, right? And then those people that are manufacturing our products are not going to sell them. So
Yeah.
it's never ending. It's never ending.
And you mentioned already to me, Trump's already said he's going to announce more tariffs today about 130. So get ready for a 130 swoon in the markets. We've seen it almost every afternoon this week as that's happened. On more of a sort of bigger level, I did see Honda and Nissan have called off their merger talks. Um, Nissan had their quarterly earnings, and the CEO said that they are going to still team up and focus on EVs together, but that the merger is off. Were you surprised by that news?
Yes, actually, because those are two good companies. They should come together, make some
Yeah.
great vehicles. Just that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think sometimes egos get in the way. It sounds like they couldn't decide on who is going to be the sort of the lead dog in some different positions. Hopefully they work that out because I do think, I know you and I were both excited that that would put Japan back in a sort of leadership role in the car industries and do that. Another one I know, Steve, I wanted to bring up early here because it is one of your personal favorites. Royal Caribbean had some pretty cool news overnight. Late yesterday, they announced they're going to do a dividend boost of about 36% and buy back $1 billion in stocks. And their Q4 revenue was up 13%. I mean, you've been harping on it. You've been a fan of RCL. You've been talking it. Are you still a buyer at this level, or you got to wait for it to cool off a little bit?
I
You
think
know,
it needs to cool off a little bit. During COVID, everybody here knows that I was buying RCL stock. I thought that was nuts when the stock got down into the 20s and 30s. I had bought quite heavily. I dumped it around 100, if you remember back then. From 100 now to 261 is a nice run. We've seen a couple of dips in RCL that was not warranted. because we know that people were cruising and spending money and getting. Look, the money that the cruise lines make is not based on the money that you spend when you buy the cruise, right? It's the money you spend on the cruise, right? All the
Right.
excursions and going to the casino and buying clothes, and trust me, I know. And
Well, you get the drink package for a lot of people too. Extra drinks and things are in there, but we know you are always have that with you without
I
a
always
doubt.
get free drinks. That's right. Yeah. So look, when you look at it from that perspective, RCL is doing very well, and they have not stopped. Right. One of the cool things about them is they did not stop building during COVID, and they continue to build new ships. And
Yeah,
those,
and that's what I've seen a lot is that the announcements of new ships, new, bigger, better, amazing ships. What I'd point out here, Steve, is they look like they're going to leave. We talk a lot that about 93% of gaps fill, right? This
yes.
one looks like one that it won't, because if it makes the move back above this 270 line here, you're probably going to leave that gap in the dust. So I do want to point that out, because you'd have so many people that just take an easy out, see that gap and think every gap retraces. Remember, 10% don't.
One of the things that I always ask when I look at a company is what's the market cap of the company? And I'm gonna pull up the numbers here.
Their market cap's $68.91 billion right now.
So they have a $68 billion market cap. Now, each of those ships on the average are about $1 billion to make. Now, the new one I think costs, I don't know, maybe $1.4 billion. And I had to pull it up myself, so I don't know the answer to it right now. Royal Caribbean Group, that means Celebrity and a few other ships too.
Yeah, they have a bunch. I didn't realize, by the way, that they had that many other brands, so to speak.
Yeah, they have Azamara and Celebrity. And I had looked at the numbers. They have 66 ships. Now, Royal Caribbean alone has 28 ships, right? And they have the biggest ship is Icon of the Seas, 10,000 passengers. Now, if an average boat ship costs $1.5 billion to make, and they've got $66 billion, their breakup fee is over $75 billion.
Right.
Okay, what does
You've
that mean
always
by breakup
pointed to that
fee?
whenever
Breakup fee means
there's been issues with these companies. You pointed that out every time, that these are a company that have strong breakup values, because those boats are
correct,
so valuable and so expensive to make that somebody would want to buy them.
and they do, right? Celebrity other companies do buy their ships, right? Smaller cruise lines will refit them, clean them up. I know there's a few like Majesty of the Seas and things like that are smaller ships, older ships. They'll just take them, completely refurb them, and they go to other like more private, smaller companies, and they sell them off, right?
Yep.
Then that's what they do. Then they borrow money and do it again, and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And right now they're not going bigger. They're taking that's with the Icon class. They're going the next class below it. So no, I think you're right. I think RCL does go higher, but I want to see a little bit of a pullback, because I like this run. But their dividend's not strong enough right now for those dividend buyers, for people, those institutions that are buying just for dividends. Not quite there yet. So
no, it's only 75 cents, I believe.
Correct. Yeah.
So still not a good percentage, but it's good to see them move in that direction. It has the stock moving up in the right way. We'll point out a couple of stocks that we watched yesterday that are showing green again today in a nice way. CVS was up 14.95% after yesterday's earnings, up another almost 0.5% today. Intel, the big ones, up 7.2 yesterday, up 1.82. Seen a lot of articles, a lot of talk that Intel, of course, is probably the best suited to navigate the tariffs if they do come to effect in the chip sector the best. So you're seeing a lot of calls for that. So not too surprising that Intel continued up. Gillian,
I am a little scared about Intel. I mean, Trump is using them as a weapon a little bit, and hoping that they will go to Taiwan Semi and tie up theirs, because that's political with China. I don't like that when they use a U.S. company as a political football. So I would be very careful here. I do like the bottom there. The bottom, when it got down to 18, 19, now I'm not so sure. We've had a nice 20% run. but right now I'm not quite sure yet. I think I'd be very careful. There's too much of a political football.
Okay, good to know. Gilead also continuing strength here, up 7.46 yesterday, showing green today. Generac also, and Tesla with 2 days of nice gains yesterday, up 2.44, up another 3.1 here today. On the downside, Waters Corporation, who had bad earnings yesterday, a medical supply company, down another 0.25%. And Kraft Heinz, Mr. Buffett, it seems like, has not done well with this. He's been in the stock for a while, and it has not recovered. I mean, this chart is just ugly. He owns like
If any company out there was to be bought out, it's KHC. I could see KHC being bought and rebranded. Kraft Heinz, as we all know, is ketchup, but they also have a lot of other things going on. I just don't like it at all. I will say one thing about Kraft Heinz. If you buy bottles of ketchup, you can go to like Costco or any of those kind of places, and you can get 5 bottles for like very cheap for ketchup. So no, but the market cap of Kraft Heinz is $34 billion. Yeah, I just don't like it right now. The lot of the
my thing with Kraft is they don't have good. Their products are sort of stale. They haven't done a good job of innovating. They're not really in the healthy stuff at all. It's the salad dressings that have a lot of processed stuff in them, like you said, barbecue sauces, ketchups, very processed food.
And I'll tell you, the biggest problem with Kraft Heinz is very simple. Teresa Heinz has nothing to do with it anymore, right? The Heinz family is no longer there. So, they've gotten away from their main source of how they do things. So I don't like
that's a great point. It's one of those where it isn't necessarily private equity like we talk about with what's going on maybe with Jersey Mike's and some of these other companies that I've seen people get in an uproar because private equity has bought out the original owners and they feel the quality is already going down. I do think that Heinz as a public company has not had the same direction, like you said, that Heinz had when they were controlled by the family more.
Right.
On the other side today, Apple Oven taken off here, Steve. Great earnings. I'll pull up some of the figures from that for us here.
I mean, I hear they're selling off $1 billion worth of their apps.
Yeah, it looks like they're getting out of gaming. They're going to get out of their mobile gaming. They're going to sell it for $900 million cash and stock deal. They did have a slight revenue beat. And a slight EPS beat. Well, actually, EPS was pretty big, 173 versus 124. But the big part was that their advertising revenue surged 73%. So they are definitely been moving up here. Man, it's a tough one at this level, though, huh?
Yeah. And, I was just reading an article from this morning from Oliver Wyman. I got it called State of Our World. If anybody wants it, I'm happy to send it out there to anybody. But instead of our world, one of the things that I noticed was that young people were not happy because they felt like normal advertising routes were not reaching them, right? That they were not advertising to younger people, right? Those in the 16 to 24. And Apple Oven hits them pretty hard with advertising. And that's the ones. Now, I get it. They're not the ones that have the money. I understand it, but they do have $10, $20, $30 in their pocket.
And they drive trends. They do, whether or not they necessarily are buying in mass, they do direct trends. I have a question for you on that. Is that maybe, though, because so many companies are scared to market to under 21, even for things that are not related to alcohol and stuff, because of, the pushback you sometimes get?
I mean, even in our own business, we don't advertise to anybody under 21 because, you have to have be 18 to trade. But that's not right. Look, I think in a lot of ways, when you look at the market, let's say, for example, Mattel, Barbie, right? Barbie isn't just for little girls anymore, right? It could be for a lot of people,
Absolutely.
Right.
Especially the branded stuff. My wife buys the branded stuff all the time.
Correct. Right. And so when you look at it from the perspective of G.I. Joe or animation, adults are buying it too, including myself. Right. So I think that when you look at advertising, you got to look at how they're advertising, and they have directed eyeballs on those apps,
Yeah.
those games, and not just every second. I mean, not every other hour and 15 minutes on TV, but they're being advertised every second, right?
Wherever you look, right. Anytime you go to a new, feed, you get it added again. I wanted to bring up though, on the other side of that is, and ask you, is it that at the, behest of Trade Desk, which we
That's
saw got
correct. Yeah.
killed in earnings, and you and I were discussing it. You're not even a buyer at this level, are you?
No, Trade Desk. I said buy it back last September, July, August, September. I loved it
Right
then.
there.
That dip. That's right. Why? I bought it because I liked it for the political season. Right, the most money ever spent in advertising on TV. If you don't know, Trade Desk is the software that finds the best time to buy advertising on TV, and so I like that. And it's a nice run into November, and they spent a lot of money on advertising.
And you
Democrats
can
really
see right
spent.
after the elections where they
And
maxed
when
out.
the election was over, I thought they'd have a pullback, would see serious pullback. And now we're going to see an even bigger pullback. And we did that. Now, am I a buyer here? Well, no, not really. I think there's going to be a more pullback here because really, who's spending money on advertising? The Super Bowl is over with. I think that was the last bit. Last
Yeah,
bit.
until the
But the
next
Super Bowl
Olympics, and
sells
I don't even know when that is. That
another
would be
year
the
from
next
now.
thing I
Yeah.
would say. Yeah.
Olympics are a year from now. I will say that this much: there is literally nothing out there. Baseball season isn't going to be one of those that they spend out on. There's nothing out there, so I would give it some time. But when you start to see a little bit of a base, maybe down below $80, there's a big base. You see that last green bar down there, mid 70s. That's what I'd be looking to purchase.
Yeah, I will say it does move up quickly when it moves, but you
It
can
does.
sort of see them. You get one really good day, you might want to give it that day and go from there. You know that I have been tracking Tesla here in the Mag 7. It did react pretty much how I thought it would. I said 330 is where you wanted to look. It did get down to, I think, 328, 329 area. Has bounced back. I want to bring actually my hour chart. It has hit some resistance here. You can see this resistance. Well, that's only a small zone over here. Well, if you zone out and go to the left a little bit, you'll see that this has been an area back over here.
I have a dear friend that says don't fade the Musk.
Yeah, I
Look, I
know.
get it, Howard. But right now, people aren't happy with Elon, and I think I like the fact what he's doing. I love what he's doing in the government. He's trying to root out some corruption, and he's found some places, and I like that. But what's happening right now is his focus is no longer on his companies, which he needs to be focused on the companies. And I think Tesla board has been very hard on him about that. Look, you need to focus on Tesla. You need to focus on sales, and sales are slipping, especially in Europe where they're not happy with him. And it's hurting his own company, and he's losing billions daily because of it. I think he needs to go back and focus on his companies. But I love the fact that he's helping the United States government. So that's a two-way street there. I don't know really what to tell him. He has to do his own math, but at some point it's going to hurt.
Yeah, definitely. For me, just from a technical side, I'm not into the other side of it. I'm just watching this zone that it did back here in mid-November. So if I can see a breakout over that 350, I think you see a continuation of the move from yesterday and into today. Anything rejected at this zone, though, here, look for a pullback towards 325.77. So I wasn't looking as big picture as you there. NVIDIA down another 1.66% yesterday, Steve. Seems to bounce back pre-market, but these afternoon dips have definitely been hurting NVIDIA here. 131.77 right now, still above our buy-ins, but definitely having some struggles. The whole chip market seems to be under attack, so to speak.
It won't be. Look, it doesn't matter what anybody says. You still got to have chips to make your machines work. Your computers, your laptops, your phone, your watch. It all needs chips. And it's NVIDIA. It's an NVIDIA world that we live in. And look, it's so crazy for the RTX 5070, the 5090, the 5040. I mean, you can't even buy them. Good luck doing that, right? I mean, I'm the biggest fan of NVIDIA when it comes to wanting more power for my computers. And you have to buy it. You don't have a choice, right? If you want to watch your videos, you want to be able to play games, you need the RTX. You could do AMD, I guess, but the big one is NVIDIA, and that machine is doing quite well, but you can't find them. So no, I'm not staying out of it. Their earnings come out, I believe it's in 13 days now.
10 days or so. Yeah, the 27th.
Yeah, 13 days. And guess what? I'm going to be holding all the way through. I think they blow out earnings. I think it's an absolute would be silly to not go long NVIDIA, especially not down here. I think this is where it's basing and doing quite well. I think it was better below 130, right? I think a lot of us picked up more down there. I'm still at 133.30. That's where I'm averaged in at. I think it hit that the other day. I was excited, but I didn't even look at it to sell. Right, I kept on right on going. So don't worry about it. I'm still long.
Absolutely. Another controversial one for you. I know you're not a fan of Robinhood, but looks like investors are today up about 18-19% on their earnings. And the big driver was definitely crypto. Their revenues soared 700%. So they are becoming a legitimate player in the crypto market. 358 million in Q4. And over 50% of their transaction revenue came from crypto trades. Were you surprised by that?
No, not at all. We talked about that yesterday on Wolf Spaces. I'll tell you, Robinhood is doing something even bigger than I've said this
Futures.
a long time. It's futures, right?
Yeah.
Futures is going to be pretty big. So yeah, they're doing okay. Robinhood's is doing very well. I like what they're doing. They finally got through their problems, and there it is.
Yeah, Vlad got them working in the right way. I will point out Morgan Stanley has already come out and given them a raise price target to $90 a share from that 64 that they were previously at. And like you said, whether it be crypto, futures, they are looking to expand into all of the markets. I will say Coinbase is the same way. They own a CFTC controlled futures market. It's not called Coinbase yet, so that's what confuses some people, and it sort of puts a little bit of a damper. I think they need to roll that in, and probably should have done it before Robinhood. And I don't know if you took a look, Steve, but Robinhood did come out with actually a pretty quality charting app now called Legend that actually is pretty good. I played around with it just to see what it looked like after the earnings yesterday. Said, what is everyone looking at? And I was surprised. They've done a pretty nice job. So I do think they're spending money in the right place. They got to fix outages, obviously, is the huge issue we know there. And then slippage and, pay to order flow versus, the former way of doing it has been a problem. Could you explain to people a little bit about that? Because I did notice I had a few people that I talked to yesterday when I mentioned that to them had no idea what pay for order flow was.
Oh, that's easy. Well, so when you're a big company like Citadel or JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs, and you want to know what how others are investing and buying and stuff, you're paying that company. So JP Morgan will pay Robinhood an X amount of money and say, look, I want to see all of the orders that are going through, the flow of orders, order flow, and pay for order flows. You're paying to see that. They're paying big dollars for that now.
Right. So, and they're getting it a couple of seconds before everybody else, right? And that is all it takes, a millisecond in that world of electronic algorithmic trading for them to be able to take an advantage. So thank you for explaining that, because again, you do it so well. I did not. I've got one for you, and I've got to plead ignorance. Dutch Brothers. Yeah. I live in a state that they actually supposedly have stores. I've never seen one, wasn't that familiar with them, but man, they are on fire too after earnings up 30% here today. And with coffee being so expensive, I was a little surprised. I didn't really break into this too much because if I don't know a company at all, or, I don't have any basis to kind of talk about it, but I did have to point out how they're doing. I mean, they're having nice same-stale stores of plus 6.9%. EPS was supposed to come in at 2 cents, came in at 7 cents. And they talked about expanding their mobile orders and their food offerings. So interesting there. I just don't know enough about it. I'm going to look a little bit more. The other thing I did see is both Wedbush and TD Securities have come up with upgrades since then. TD's in at $89 now, up from $65, and Wedbush up to $100 from $65. So pretty positive in general here. Were you familiar with this company at all?
I don't drink coffee at all. In fact, I was just looking over at Starbucks itself, SBUX. It's near all-time highs on
Yeah.
Starbucks. I don't know. Are people drinking more coffee nowadays? I think probably the answer is maybe because it is the winter time. Do people drink that much coffee during the summertime? No. We know that. I don't know. I don't
Okay, well, I have to argue that point for 1 second because I come
argue
from
it because I don't.
Dunkin' Donuts world in Massachusetts where they drink hot coffee. They drink iced coffee all winter and hot coffee all summer. I've never understood it. My parents, my family, everybody, you go to a Dunkin' Donuts in the
Oh,
middle of winter and people are walking out with iced coffees.
when I lived in Key West, I mean, the number one time when you could sell ice cream was in the wintertime, right? The psychology of food is very interesting. I've
Yeah.
never had a really good, strong chance to discover that. But, look, when I look at coffee, it's when people are going into their offices, right? Are they going out to go to Starbucks and coming back to their home to work? I don't think so, right? Maybe they're buying Starbucks and they're putting the bags of coffee in their house and making their coffee at home. Okay. But I don't think so. And you just see right there, same store sales are up 7%. So people are going into the store in order to buy. Now, for me, I think it's very simple. I think it's apps. I think it's
And they spoke to it. Their expanded mobile ordering and food
right.
selections as being a reason. Yeah, they also do. So as I'm reading more here, I'm seeing some of the things that might be what is doing it too. There's a huge, huge push in the West Coast. I've seen it, especially in Idaho and Utah, for these soda places where they do all the energy drinks and they add in fruit juices and they do all this stuff. They talked about that they have flavored high energy drinks that differentiate themselves from Starbucks. So I have seen on TikTok, my wife loves them, these dirty Dr. Peppers, and they put in coconut milk and stuff into sodas and they think they're great. I think they're nasty, but what do I know? It is moving them in the right direction. Another one we got to talk about, Steve. MGM is moving the entire casino market up today. They had a really nice earnings report. Nice beat there. They're up almost 12% here. They've been beaten up pretty bad. You someone that's thinking maybe casinos are coming back here?
I will say this much. I don't gamble very often. Sometimes on the cruise ships, sometimes in sports. Rarely I'll grab my Hard Rock app and I'll bend over and go, okay, let's have some fun with this. I don't gamble, but I will say that MGM has gone a different route. They have created what I've always said is easy ecosystem, right? You build an ecosystem, and I think MGM has done a very good job building an ecosystem. And they have a lot of companies within MGM, and especially out in Las Vegas. So, yeah.
Another company falling today that I might be interested in looking at, Steve, don't know if you are, is John Deere, down about 5% after their earnings here. My thing is that I think that they are going, people are going to need more equipment to build out what's going on in California. Unfortunately, the wildfires in North Carolina, they're still building out there. So John Deere gets interesting, I think, at some point here, but their equipment sales dropped 30 to 35% year over year.
Yeah. I will say this much. John Deere has moved into the robotics side of farming, and we're not into farming season just yet. Should be another month coming up. Planting season comes up in March, especially since the weather is still a little cool up north. I wouldn't know. But I like John Deere. I think John Deere is well run right now, and I think that in the past they've had issues with unionizations, strikes, I should say. Unions aren't that
absolutely
bad. It strikes, and we haven't seen that, and they seem to be probably happy now. So if they can keep that in check, then we should be okay. And I say that because my education was paid for by a union check, so I'm a union. I like the unions sometimes. I don't like the unions sometimes. I don't like union busters. Sometimes I do. It depends, right? Every system is different, and John Deere has a pretty good management system here so far.
We are open, Steve. So the tick is coming in, starting off positive here. Advanced decline up at 3,000.
Yeah.
Again, I do want to warn people that you have the president coming on to talk tariffs at 1:30. We saw his yesterday afternoon tweets, took the market down. We had been moving up nicely before that. Advanced decline lower than about 2,000 lower than yesterday, but we do see QQQ up 33 basis points to start off here. Let's take a quick look at the Mag 7. Nvidia is up a little bit about and moving to the upside. Apple moving to the upside here. Google moving to the upside. So we do see a little bit moves to the upside here. Tesla's sort of struggling at this 344 area. Hasn't been able to get through 344 yet. Right now, 343.62. Let's see if we have any movement on the Dixie here on the open. Not really. Still at 107.84. Did drop off a little bit on the economic data earlier today. Nice to see it below $1, 108 there. So that's good to see. If we look at the Spider Select funds, they're about 50-50. Energy moving to the upside, consumer staples moving to the upside, real estate moving to the upside. So we'll see how that plays out for us. Bitcoin at 96K, sort of stuck here in this level. Hasn't really been very volatile for Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. Nat gas has moved back up to 392, Steve. So we're definitely seeing nat gas. You talked about that yesterday, moving up 3.65%.
And I like the fact that like WTI down to $70, 70.78 now. I like that down here. If you want to play it for a quick pop again, there you go. I keep telling you, at $70, it's somewhere around 70.50. It's a buy. I mean, we've said this several times, right? 132 now on Nvidia. I like oil at $70, and I hate it at 73.
And there goes Tesla for me there, folks. 347 here almost. It is moving up. So Tesla is going up to that resistance zone. It is right at the spot where I pointed it out in this hourly chart here. So we'll see if we can break through this resistance. You get a break of that 350.50, and you've got a chance to move up here. So your next resistance zone above that would be 362 to the upside. Again, any rejection at this level, though, you're looking for it to play back towards that 325 area. So Tesla right at an important pivot point, in my opinion, here today. Google moving to the upside here this morning. So we do see Netflix has now moved positive on the day here, up back at 103.0. So trying to break to all-time highs. 103.2 is the all-time high there, 103.285 actually. Let's take a look at the chips. Mixed bag on chips, broadband, TSM, and ASML negative. All the rest seem to be positive so far. So chips getting a little bit of love here. I wanted to take a look and see what's going on with steel. That's a mixed bag here. So after taking a little bit of a hit yesterday, Cleveland Cliffs is bouncing back. Back here at 1062. We do know yesterday it continued its slide. So steel looks like it fell back almost right to where it started when this whole, tariff started Monday, right, Steve?
Yep. I mean,
basically just round tripped. And that's what we've been talking about. That's why it's tough to be a long-term holder right now in a lot of stocks that are based, on the news.
I'm not scared, though. I mean, I think we just talked about it with Nvidia there, up 1.2%, 132.70. We're about to almost be back to where we were yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Q's just took off there. Tick dropping a little bit here, but look, I mean, we're living by tweet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So all four indices are in the green so far. Dow Jones up about 10 basis points. SPY up twice that at 21 basis points. Small caps, who got hit really hard yesterday, bouncing back here today, up about a half a percentage point. And QQQ leading the indices up 64 basis points so far. Coming up, though, here on some resistance at that 533.97 level. So we are doing pretty well so far in the markets, but we're coming up to some key pivot points on a lot of these. We'll keep an eye and see if they can break through or if they struggle. Looks like Tesla wants to run. It did break that 347 here. So Tesla is trying to break through. Trying to see if we look across the alts, almost all of the alts to the red today on crypto. Seen a nice move up again. Intel now up 5.25% here. So Intel is going to have a nice continuation. Take a look at that on the chart. Again, I do think you have room to that 200-day MA here. I'd be very worried about that, watching it in that 2470 area. So keep an eye there if you're riding Intel up this morning. CVS continues to move up too yesterday. After yesterday's good earnings report, it sort of cleared its resistances, now turned that into support a little bit. That's at that 64 level. So if you can hold above 64 here, you've got a little bit maybe of continuation with CVS today. Let's look at the ones that were dropping earlier that looks like they're continuing to drop. So Trade Desk, after Steve talked badly about it, moving down even further here today, now at 82.78. So it could even gap down further here today. West Pharmaceuticals are down 26.15% here. Another one of the major losers. Steve D-Dog, I was a little surprised, down about 8.84%. I was trying to break down their quarterly reports a little bit to see if I was interested there on their stuff. And their 2025 guidance just isn't looking that great. They're now expecting to miss revenue and miss EPS. So I think that definitely has there. And they're also they're seeing enterprise spending cuts. You have any opinion on D-Dog?
Nope, I don't. I don't really. Datadog is another company just like that, and I don't really. There's nothing there to me. I think they've got a good company, but nothing that sets them apart, and that's the problem there for me.
Yep. Okay.
Best in class, what I always say.
Yep.
Are we going to lose? We lost 96,000. We're 95.7 now on Bitcoin. It got to 98,000 once again and dropped again. So, I still have not put my money back into Bitcoin yet. And I sold at 98.2. A lot of people know I sold quite a bit of it. But, man, it's just not doing what I want it to do.
It's still in the same zone of where I've been looking. Nothing exciting one way or the other really about it. Leverage is a little bit down in the market, so that should keep it a little bit less volatile here.
Albemarle's up 5.3%.
Yeah, they were starting to move up yesterday, but they faded. I didn't see by the end of the day if they faded all the way out. They had been a pre-market mover yesterday. No, they continued up. So now they gapped up here nicely, up 5% here. Albemarle mines so many different materials.
I like Albemarle down here. This is a really good place here, I think. I know they missed on earnings. I get all of that, but they are looking at lithium now. I get it. There's a big push now in the administration to add $1,000 tax onto electric vehicles, and I don't think that's a smart move. But okay.
They are saying they're taking decisive actions to reduce their costs and optimize their conversion network to increase efficiencies. They had revenue of 1.2 billion versus 1.33. So be interesting to see if they can hold up here. It does look like they are fading a little bit off from pre-market. Again, here you can see since the open, they've been pulling back pretty hard here. See if they can hold up. They're one that they got to hold that 78 line or you'll be in trouble. Yeah, they're pulling back as people are digesting this information. Looks like they are selling off here a little bit on Albemarle.
There's a lot of institutional holdings on Albemarle, and so of course some of those have taken some money. I think we're seeing some questions being asked about Valentine's Day's trades, which is tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't really celebrate Valentine's Day, but I can tell you that chocolate is probably going to do well. Hershey's, right? HSY. Do people buy chocolate now for their loved ones? I don't think so, but HSY is Hershey's. I can see chocolate.
I'll tell you what I would be looking at too. Cheesecake Factory, one of your favorites, cake. Yeah. I can tell you from being in the restaurant business, one of the holy grail restaurant holidays, if you are a fine dining or at least casual dining and above, is Valentine's Day weekend. Talking to some of my folks in DC to see how busy they were going to be this weekend. In that channel check, everyone is packed to the gills.
All right. Well, then there's your answer there.
So, yeah, cheesecake would be one. I don't know. another play in the finer. Ruth Chris used to be a play, but I don't even know if how they've been doing lately. They used to be the best when it came to fine dining public companies. They're not even there. You know what would be a play too? Darden, because they own Capital Grill and a lot of different things. Darden would be a decent one to take a look to here. DRI, Ron. Could be at a good spot. They will have earnings reports, not till all the way till April. But Darden, who owns Chili's, Maggiano's, a bunch of other stuff. They're a good restaurant chain. They, like I said, they're the ones that own Capital Grill, one of the best steakhouses you'll
Vlad,
find.
CEO of Robinhood, is now on CNBC now.
Yeah, he does well on those shows. He definitely does. He is a firm believer in what he's doing. He's one of those those CEOs that definitely seem to motivate people when they do speak. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm going to try to see what's moving on the pumpers here this morning.
Yeah, 95.5 now on Bitcoin. It's just not holding at all. I don't like Bitcoin right now. People have been asking about it, and I'm just like, I just don't see any reason to buy Bitcoin right now.
Again, that's where you and I just argue every day is a good day to buy Bitcoin.
Every day is a good day to buy Bitcoin. I'm not going to argue that fact, but I will say that I wouldn't do it right now. There's just too much.
I have to throw my 2 cents in when you say stuff.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with you. I think every day is a good day to buy Bitcoin. I think everybody should buy a little bit every day. But I had a large sum, and I took it off at 98 too, as everybody knows.
Well, it's one of your rules, right? If you're nervous about a position, you should lessen that position. It means it's too large. I mean, that is one of your key rules that I always follow. So I'm there with you. I get it. That's why I don't give you a hard time about selling or anything else on it. Is everybody's got to do their own. VIX is back down to 1587 here. If I see that get down again below 1525, I do like to purchase VIX calls at that time. Volatility is always coming back into the market. So you look at a little bit of a not really long dated, usually about 30 days out or less on the VIX, and you can buy some at the money calls just out of the money.
In gold here, to 29.15 again. Guy down
to about gold holding up really well. We've heard the talk. What do you think about President Trump? That was one of his tweets yesterday. I forgot about that. We were already off the air. Says he wants to go back to the gold standard. That's the deepest breath you've ever taken on air, Stephen Orr.
It's a rarity when I'm. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. You're exactly right. It's the same
problem. The problem is I'm trying to understand. I understand his thought process behind it. That the dollar needs to be backed by something than the good faith and credit of God and country, right? There are 3 problems. The first problem is if you back the country with gold, our dollar with gold, do we have enough gold to back it? So if everybody goes down to the corner grocery store and starts taking their gold out of their pockets, or they take their dollar out of their pockets, can the U.S. government, good faith and credit, the United States government, can they give you enough gold to cover that? The answer is no. Second thing I think is the interchangeability of gold and the U.S. dollar. We're going to need a lot more people, and then the government's going to have to get into the business of actually buying and selling gold itself. Okay, and we do. We have the mint, right? And then the mint.
But right now, it's like 5 people that make those decisions.
Raise your hand if you've been to the mint to buy gold. No, I mean I haven't, right? I mean I've got silver. You go to places to buy that. Like you can do it through AU Secure.
AU Secure.
And through us, right? Okay, but the third thing, and there's of course the second thing is there's just not enough of that, right? The third problem is we went off the gold standard, then we did go back to the gold standard. So what happens if we go back off the gold standard again? That's a big problem, right? So that loses the good faith and credit of the United States.
Yeah, now, and the amount of money it would cost just to change the system would be immense. It's a president that's talking about how he wants to, cut the the deficit, that would just raise it, because again, you'd have to recalculate, like you said, everything, auditing, holding it, all these things here.
Ron is
Ron
asking.
asking about Peter Thomas. We had him on last week. Ron, you'll have to take a look through our videos there. He talked about it, how much China is buying gold. We saw it with Blue Hat. They bought 1 ton of gold. They were formerly a trinket company that's now getting into selling gold in China. He said not even the countries. He talked about the banks that are buying gold right now, right, Steve? He talked about a lot of banks that were really stepping up.
And why are the banks buying gold? Because the banks are buying gold so that the citizens can finally buy the gold. So I just said that, right? Is that that's one of the biggest problems. So are you going to go down to the bank, cash your check? Are you going to go to the bank and go take money out, swipe your credit card, swipe your ATM card, get cash out, and go buy gold? Are you? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think people, if you want to buy gold, you go to a reputable gold dealer, gold and silver dealers. There's just not enough of that right now in order to accommodate that. And then if that's the case, gold isn't $3,000 an ounce, it's $10,000 an ounce, right? Especially if you're backing it by. Now the question is, do we as a government, if we do go back to the gold standard, do we sell our gold to go pay off our debt?
I don't. I mean, like I said, to me, that came so far to left field that I didn't have that on my bingo card. I guess my takeaway was, he realizes that there are very few countries that can keep up with us in the amount of gold that either we hold or do it. And he's saying, if we got all the gold, then our dollar is going to stay exactly where I want it to stay.
Now, if we get close on that and we start talking quite heavily about it, gold dealers, gold companies that deal in gold will absolutely fly through the roof in the stock market. So, if you're looking at buying stocks in the gold area and that becomes more of a prevalent thing, then the diggers in the ground that dig out the gold will be, and Royal Gold would be one of them. RGLD would be a big one I can see.
Huge one.
Right now, RGLD Royal Gold is trading at 148.35. Oh, look at that 1 minute chart. They don't trade heavily during the day, but they're worth $10 billion. That's right. A gold company is worth $10 billion. So, if you're looking at, these are some of the bigger gold producers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, if you're looking for a YOLO type thing and you think that Trump's going to come through with that, seeing a couple of things moving up here in the morning, companies we weren't talking about earlier. Tyler Technologies up 6.19% here this morning. Take a look and see what news they have coming. They just had their fourth quarter reports, so people are jumping in there. I have an interesting one for you, Steve, that yesterday we saw was one of the biggest losers when we were on the air yesterday, pre-market, after their earnings yesterday. It is one of today's winners, Smurfit Westrock, and you called that yesterday. You mentioned that you liked them. That out of all the things I was talking about that were down, that was the one that you mentioned. You liked the company. I didn't really know much about them. They bounced right back, so you nailed that. I wanted to bring that up.
Smurfit Westrock, for those of you who don't know what Smurfit Westrock is, they make paper and packaging, sustainable packaging, right? So when you look at when they were Smurfit Stone was another company that was with them too as well. They're out of their headquarters is in Dublin, Ireland, and which helps them tax wise too as well.
Yep.
When you look at Amazon and deliveries are growing very, very fast, and people are kind of tired of getting a huge box and a small thing of shampoo in the box, right? They want things that are more closely to what they ordered. They don't want to waste money on packaging and sustainable packaging, right? So when they did that, I like it. I like it a lot. I think that they're a big, very good company. And I think that their products there's a lot going on there. Think of it like when you get flowers in a box, Smurfit is the company. You get strawberries, it's Smurfit. I'm looking at their website now. But they also are into the machinery of packaging too, so as well. And also displays. So how many displays are you going back into that are you into the store and seeing displays? So yes, I think that they're doing quite well. They also do boxes for wine. They
Yep.
just have a lot that they do, and almost everything that you see in a box pretty much comes from Smurfit. So yeah.
Seeing it come across, EU is considering a temporary cap on natural gas prices. We've talked about natural gas in Europe as an issue, seeing that from Zero Hedge here. Man, that would be, and then we're also seeing from Zero Hedge, 60% of Russian oil tankers that were sanctioned on January 10th are now idle. So watch out for the cost of gas and oil, right?
No, I'll tell you why. Because something changed yesterday. Putin and Trump had a phone call yesterday.
Had a great phone call.
Had a good phone call. I think there's some bro talk there a little bit, right? Look, we both are the biggest countries in the world financially, and you are doing something very, very bad going into Ukraine, so stop it. But okay, bro, and because of that, I think that they're gonna go. I think Trump's gonna go to Moscow. He was
They
invited to
said
Moscow.
that they both made plans or appointments to come to each other's countries. Yeah.
Correct. That is different than the last 4 years. And I don't think that's going to make Zelensky very happy, right? But they're going to
No.
look to make a deal. And because of that, there's going to be a huge release of oil and nat gas out of Russia. As most people know, that will lower the price of gasoline or nat gas into Europe, which they're paying 3 times now what they should be paying. And when I see that, then the tankers that are idle, there's going to be a glut of oil and glut of gas on the markets. Now that this is all predicated on whether or not they can pat each other on the back and be
And get
bros
that
again.
over.
But I think that they will. I mean, that phone call went pretty well. I was reading some of the transcript, and I was very shocked at just how well they liked each other. So, yeah. Ron saying, yeah, they want to meet at a neutral location. That's true, but it doesn't matter. As long as they both shake hands and love each other, then good God, that could change the world a little bit. I think that Ukraine will concede some land. I think that Ukraine will not be joining NATO anytime soon. They'll be joining the EU. So there'll be concessions on both sides, and at least Russia can stop killing their kids. And I think that could be a big deal, right? You're seeing drone warfare hitting on both sides on the nuclear power plant there in Kiev, and as well as drones hitting in Russian territory. So what that would stop, then I think the oil and nat gas will flow quite heavily in Russia. So that would bring a huge glut, and that would push WTI under $70 a barrel. And then I would be definitely let some of that oil burn off a little bit.
Absolutely. Steve, I know one that you're happy about. You've been talking about the U.S. needs to get better relations with India. We do have the Indian Prime Minister due to hit D.C., I believe, today. Senior Trump administration official just announced that Trump wants India to bring down the trade deficit with defense procurement and U.S. energy sales. What do you think about that? I do think that, it's an area they got to fix. India's got some issues right now when it comes to their currency for sure.
Yes, the rupee is definitely at the lowest rate it's been in, I can't even believe decades, right?
Yep.
It's been very, very low. And it's very expensive for Indians to come to the United States. Very expensive, right? And I'll tell you, the technology is exploding in India. Software development is big in India. But I will also say that Modi and Trump are also becoming bros. They are liking each other, right? And we do have a huge... Now, when it comes to defense spending on India, they like our planes. They like our... So if you think of it like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, or, I think those companies could do very well. General Dynamics, GDI, will probably do very well. So yes, defense spending in India will probably go up. Defense spending in the United States will probably go down. And defense spending in Russia will probably go up if bros become, of Trump and Putin. So I think spending will go up internationally, because why? But we got to get our dollar down because right now it's too expensive right now for them to buy our planes.
Seeing healthcare get a little bit of a hit here today as
Sure.
10x Genomics CEO came out and said, fears of cuts to NIH definitely fall, hitting that sector. So those that are in the sort of clinical field getting hit here today, West Pharmaceuticals, Zoetis, and a couple others there. Supermicro, Steve, came out, SMCI. They're going to do, I think it's a $700 million raise. Not surprising they're having trouble. So it's, looked like yesterday was a good day for them. And then they came out and said they need a private placement of 2.25 convertible.
I mean, SMCI has got so many problems right now. I just couldn't touch them. I like their products. I like the company. They just, that run yesterday was silly to me. And of course, it's right back down. So I don't like it. 133.13 here, 133.06 now on. Well, we're gonna hit NVIDIA hit today's high. Just hit it again. 133.31. There it goes. So we're above yesterday's. 133.40 now is the high of the day. So NVIDIA.
Yeah, absolutely. Tesla has broken through that resistance and gotten to 347.66 here, but 350.80, the spot, almost exactly what I told you. I said 350.58 to watch for a rejection. Rejected at 350.80 here. So that still remains the area you got to break through and hold above here to see a continuation play on Tesla. But it is definitely looking strong today. As Steve said, NVIDIA looking strong. Netflix has made a nice move. It was red in the pre-market trading, now up almost a full percentage point here. So nice move up here by Netflix, 103.7. Wow.
Back on Schwab, when I talked about NVIDIA, it was right around 750. I said, we're going to 1,000. Here we are at 1,000. We did it a couple of times. Now we're hitting all-time highs here, I think we still go higher, right? People are definitely using Netflix. And Netflix may use some of that money to buy new products and new, acquisitions of new customers. And Netflix is getting cheaper for them because they're acquisitioning international. So I like it. 134, getting very close here on NVIDIA.
Coinbase, a nice move up, almost 5% here. They have earnings coming up. Actually, no, they just went. Yeah, they do have earnings coming tomorrow, right? I think. Hold on one second. The 13th, today. Sorry, they have earnings after hours today, moving up about 5% so far here this morning. Again, Robinhood had those great earnings. I do see that H.C. Wainwright has moved their target to 330 on Coinbase. So 330 here on Coinbase. They are seeing a little bit of love. The one that keeps continuing just to grind up, Steve, is Costco. 106.
Yeah. And what is Costco selling out of? Gold. Right. I mean, they are selling everything, right? I mean, $1 hot dogs and go buy your gold right there in the same place. Totally understandable. I would not be buying my gold from Costco. I'm sorry.
No.
I don't do that.
I don't know. Actually, I know that our man, Mr. Williams, has done it a few times and talked pretty highly about the process.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's hard to find.
Gold is gold. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I'm not going into Costco to buy gold, right?
Yeah, no. I go to get my toilet paper and my chickens, my rotisserie chicken.
I'm not buying my, yeah.
I will point out here on Costco, it is consolidating sort of nicely here in this zone. I'd like to see it go sideways a little bit more like we saw here. In this area here, get a little bit more consolidation for another move up, but it does look pretty good here, Costco still.
No, I like it. I've talked about Costco several times, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Walmart too, right behind them. I mean, Walmart's, Sam's Club. Go to Sam's Club, see what it's like. It's like you go in there on a Saturday afternoon, and it's like fighting traffic, right? So yeah.
Tell you what,
video.
CrowdStrike really moving up nicely too here. 438.70. They go into earnings in a couple of weeks. Man, they just keep moving up. That chart's crazy.
I mean, who doesn't need security on their computers, right? I mean, we all need it, right? They took a huge drop when they got busted, and
for the airline issue,
hack and the airline issues and the hacks and everything else. They took it on the chin. But they've already doubled their price, right? One was under 200, now it's over 400, so they more than doubled their stock price. Yeah,
I do want to point out Intel continuing to run here, up 8.6%.
I mentioned
coming up on that 200-day I was talking about here. So watch it at that 24.80 area. 24.80 is going to be a tough spot. I was targeting 26.30 as intel for my sort of analyst role there, but it's got this 200 to get through to get there. Looking pretty strong here today. See a little bit of a pullback out of the Chinese names, Steve. No real surprise there. They tend to do it. The only surprise I had there is that last night, overnight, Chinese government came out and said they are going to put some more stimuluses in place to move their economy forward. Usually we've seen jumps up after that, so it shows you that that law of diminishing returns, is sort of fitting in there.
I will make a prediction that within the year, maybe year and a half, that there will be a Malta. There will be a meeting of the minds between China, Russia, and the United States, where they all meet somewhere. Now, they might not meet together as their own big meeting, but they're going to meet together, and they're going to have a big discussion. Whether that's it could be a phone call where they're all on the same phone call and they're all having this love fest. But I think that you're going to see that where the world comes together, and if that's the case, man, China stocks are going to explode to the upside, and you will see the Russia's ruble will come right back. Russian ruble to the U.S. dollar is probably an all-time low. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic. I think we'll go higher. So yeah,
I don't know if they show. Do they still show that pairing?
Don't know. I'm sure they do. Yes,
Yeah.
there it is. Yeah, of course. It's still a pairing. But look at that. If there was anything that I could do, we can't because we're Americans.
Sanctions. Yeah, those sanctions.
I would love to buy the Russian ruble right now. I think it's pretty low. Low. I mean, I wanted to short the dollar against the ruble about a month ago, and obviously can't. Right. So you can see that this is what's happening. Right. As Trump and Putin are talking, this is what's happening. Right. Down another 3%. So 134.30 now on Nvidia for those of you who got in at 133.30 back a while. Yeah, so we're still moving.
Yep, absolutely. Same thing. Tesla approaching 350 again here, up 3.9% on the day. CVS continuing to move up. Intel now 9.52, so it is coming right up on that 200-day MA here. So it is continuing to show some serious strength here. Gilead again, huge strength.
71.14. Gilead Sciences. I mean, I love Gilead. They should continue to push higher. Yeah, they're working on so many drugs. That's not
there
even
you
funny.
go. Tesla at 350. Tesla just broke 350 here. Now up 4% on the day. If you got in at that 330, I talked about. That's this.
There we go. Here it comes in. Hewlett Packard, HPE now announcing their first shipments of NVIDIA Grace Blackwell system. HPE. Just announcing that they got their NVIDIA shipment of its first Grace. We should see it really growing now.
They're up 1.6% on that news. It's an interesting one here. If they're the first ones to sort of come out with those systems, you could see Hewlett Packard make a nice move up here today towards this 2450 move. I would definitely be interested here. Watch that for a run. First level I'd want to see before I'd get into it here would be a break above. Right about this 2168. Any break of that 2168, you've got some room to run there.
I have talked about the Grace Blackwell system. If you don't know, that's the blades. That should push NVIDIA back to the 140s now that they've got those shipments going out. Wow.
And it's got most of the chips moving now. ASML up 1.5% since we've opened. They were negative in the pre-market movers. So we are seeing sympathy kind of catch in there. If you're looking for a play there, they're one of the ones that just got up at NXPI. We know was up yesterday on their earnings and news. Now down. They're one of the few down about 17 basis points. Not very far. Tick still positive. 84. We've got the advanced decline above 3,000 here. Steve, going to put you on the spot like I do every day. SPY's up 1/4 point. QQQ up about 0.6. Where do they end up today?
Down.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're going to have a nice run till about 1 o'clock. I thought it was 1:30. It's now 1 o'clock that president is supposed to come on here today. We have Jeremy Vreeland and Matthew Tuttle up at 11:30. But we're going to go into the Senate hearing for the Trump education chief pick, Linda McMahon, next. I'm going to have that up in a minute or two. And then we lead into Jeremy Vreeland at 11:30 to 12:30. At 12:30, I have yesterday's show from Alan Ellman. We had a recording session, him and I, on covered calls. We're going to have that up at 12:30. And then at 1 o'clock, we have Prosper Trading. Followed by 1:30, we have Market Rebels. And then at 2 o'clock, we have Trader TV. So tune in all day today. We'll have stuff going for you. Like I said, we're going to go to the Senate hearing committee here in a few minutes at 10:10. So have a great day, everybody.